we will really get into the meat of the matter from the fourth video. But from video 1 to video 3, I'm going to be laying some groundwork, some basic foundational information that is important to keep in mind as we learn about critical thinking. Hi, everybody. My name is Nanika Edwards. I am a poet and author, many different things, but actually, in this video, I'm putting on a slightly different hat. I'm going to be donning my philosopher hat as we explore the topic of critical thinking by studying or examining the story of David and Goliath, a very well known account in the Bible, and probably the best known account, one of the best known accounts among Christians and non Christians about the Bible. And not only do I hope that this series would help us to think more critically, but I also hope that it would spotlight and illustrate the relevance of the Bible to everyday life and modern thinking. Yes, it's an ancient book, it's an ancient set of writings, but it's still relevant today and really for all of time. Now, for this series of videos, and so far I've planned out 10 different videos. So we're starting off with 10 videos. It could get longer, but I'm starting with 10 videos. But for this series of videos, for this first set of videos, I would recommend that you read 1 Samuel 17 on your own. And I would also recommend that you read 1 Samuel 16 if you don't know anything about David and you'd like to have a little more context for what happens in 1 Samuel 17. So I recommend reading 1 Samuel 16 and 1 Samuel 17, but definitely especially 1 Samuel 17, which describes the encounter between David and Goliath. I would also recommend that you use a modern version of the Bible as opposed to the King James version, which uses very archaic language. Some people like that, but I think it makes the Bible feel more distant. It makes God feel more distant. So I wouldn't typically recommend the King James version, but I would recommend the New King James Version, the NKJV, the New Living Translation, NLT, or the New International Version, NIV. And you may also want to look at an amplified version. What is it? Is it the American Amplified Version? I think that's what it is. But you can't go wrong with any of the versions that you see on my screen here. The language is very accessible. It's very they make for easy reading, and they're very close to modern English. In fact, they use pretty much modern English like what we use today. The NKJV version might be slightly more poetic than the NLT and the NIV. Personally, the NLT is my favorite, at least right now, but you can go with any one of these. You can download a Bible app to your phone. For example, YouVersion, YOU, YouVersion, or CBN Bible. Those are the two Bibles that I use. I'm sure there are other Bible apps. So, you can just download an app to your phone, or if you would like, if you prefer, you could simply go online and look up Bible Gateway. If you don't want to download an app, you can look up Bible Gateway and you can look up this passage and type in the Bible, select the Bible that you'd like to work with. And I would even recommend reading different translations, maybe even in other languages. Like you can read outside of English. I've done that. For this particular series, I've done a massive amount. Well, I don't know if massive is the right word, but I've done a lot more preparation than I would normally do for a video series, simply because this is a story that I love. It's one of my favorite Bible stories, if not my favorite. And I really have put a lot of effort and work into this. First of all, I read the passage myself several times, meticulously, looked at original Hebrew, using CBN Bible. Actually, you can get a Strong's Concordance in the CBN Bible. And I also looked at videos in English, Spanish, a bit of French, tinge of Chinese, not that much, mainly English and Spanish. Because to be honest, by the time I got to the French and the Chinese, I had binge watched so many videos on David and Goliath in English and Spanish that I was a bit saturated. So I stopped at the English and the Spanish, but I did read this account in English, French, and Chinese. So I've covered it in different languages, looked at videos, read it myself. So, you know, I'm just letting you know this so that you would understand the preparation that I pull. I'm just letting you know this so that you would understand that a lot of work went into this, and it's going to be good. It's going to be really good. Not that my other videos aren't good, but I think this one is going to be really special. Okay, so yep. So again, I would recommend that you read 1 Samuel 17 on your own and also 1 Samuel 16. And here is a quote that I came up with myself. I write proverbs. I have a series of personal proverbs that I've written. I call the series A Poet's Proverbs. As of today, 1st August 2024, there are 7 books in the series. Book 8 is in the making. Every 3 months, as long as I feel inspired, as long as the inspiration flows and I have proverbs to share, I release a book about every 3 months, every 3, 4 months. So this is one of the proverbs that I've come up with. There is more to thinking than most people think. I believe there are people racing in the area right now. I don't know why people drag race in the night when people are sleeping with those loud engines. I mean, it's so inconsiderate. But anyway, there is more to thinking than most people think. So I'll let that sink in a bit. I'll let that sink in a bit. There is more to thinking than most people think. Now, I'm not going to go into a whole long explanation and introduction about what critical thinking is, but this much I would say: critical thinking is really often based on common sense. Now, I'm not meaning to be insulting, but there is a well-known saying that says common sense is not common. And that's true. Common sense is not common. You would think that common sense would be common. That's why after all, it's called common sense. But common sense is not common. That means that critical thinking is not common. To be a critical thinker, one of the things we need to do is think about what we think. And most people, for whatever reason, don't do that. So I hope that this series will get us thinking about what we think, more importantly, about how we think. So there is more to thinking than most people think, and that's what I would like to explore in this particular series. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to explain very quickly what critical thinking means, what it's about. Simply put, critical thinking is about deep thinking. Critical thinking is about rigorous logic. I remember I used to have a professor at the university where I studied in South Korea between 2001 and 2003, who used to tell us that we needed to be rigorous thinkers. Now, I must admit that back then I was not really a rigorous thinker. I was an instinctive thinker. Um, a lot of what I thought was actually quite accurate, but I was not a rigorous thinker. I did not understand the rhyme or reason behind some of the conclusions that I came to, so, but over time, thankfully, I've matured and now I'm a way more rigorous thinker. Okay, so it's important to be a rigorous thinker, meaning we need to be impeccably logical as we can be. Critical thinking is about dot to dot reasoning. And that's part of what rigorous logic is about, being able to connect dots in a logical way. Oh my gosh, what are people doing driving around in the neighborhood at this hour with these kinds of engines? Do these people not have a heart? They're not thinking critically. Anyway, rigorous logic is about dot to dot reasoning. Critical thinking is about having keen instinct. So, yes, critical thinking is about what happens in the mind and the brain, but it's also about what happens in the heart, which I more connect with instincts. Logic, I connect with our mind. Instincts, I connect with the heart. And they both work together to help us become better critical thinkers. Critical thinking is about intellectual muscularity. Critical thinking, as I said just a while ago, is about common sense, just basic common sense. Critical thinking, simply put, is all about being fair minded. It's about fair mindedness. Critical thinking is also about imagining. Critical thinking is about wondering, doubting, deciding, deducing. There are so many things that can describe what our brain actually does when we think. Think is one word, but you can have so many other derivatives coming from that. If you check a thesaurus and you look up the word think and see how many synonyms you get under think, you'll understand what a complex system the brain is and how complex thought is or really should be. So that's it for this video. This is the first in a series of 10 videos on critical thinking through the story of David and Goliath. Now, I will eventually get to the story of David and Goliath, but at this point, I'm just laying a foundation so that everything would be crystal clear. So this video explains what critical thinking is about, but in a nutshell. I mean, this video could have been way longer. I mean, I could talk for hours about critical thinking, but this chart here, if I could call it a chart, this little chart with these blocks of information, they can give you a really good idea of what critical thinking is all about, especially if you didn't know much about critical thinking before this. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you found it useful, thank you for giving it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see others like it, or if you'd like to continue exploring my channel and getting notifications when new videos are put up, then thank you for subscribing. Until next time.